with the National Guard, I don't think there is a threat that is such that we should have the National Guard here. I think that we have, a 10-foot tall fence with razor wire on it, with about a mile perimeter all around the office buildings, all around the Capitol. If you want to come and see the world's greatest constitutional republic, which is America, you can't come anymore. You can't get in to see your representatives. You can't get in the Capitol. It's really a sad time. And I think basically the reason we're doing it is because Nancy Pelosi underreacted and didn't have adequate security on January 6th. And so now she's overreacting. And I think ultimately it's going to come out that there were requests for National Guard and for more Capitol Hill police before January 6th, and that those requests were turned down by Nancy Pelosi and her handpicked sergeant at arms. I think as that becomes more readily apparent, she's concerned that she'll be blamed for not having adequate security on January 6th. And as a consequence, I think she's putting up a big show of force with having the National Guard out there now. And so I do think that there are threats. Look, I was at the ball field when a crazy Bernie Sanders supporter came and shot at us. Steve Scalise almost died. One staff member was about 10 feet from me, was shot in the leg. The guy fired off 200 shots in about a 5-minute period. So I'm aware of the violence that we face and that we need security. The Capitol Hill police saved my life that day. They saved about 30 of us who would have been killed had the Capitol Hill police not been there. One night, my wife and I, after leaving the White House for a big convention where the president was speaking, couldn't even cross a road without a mob of over 100 people attacking us. That night, our lives were saved by the D.C. police. So I'm a big proponent of our police and that they are a viable function and that we shouldn't buy into this craziness of defund the police. But at the same time, we live in a free country. We don't want to live under an army. The army has a great purpose, but the army is for defending us from foreign invasion.
Welcome back to 13 Stripes. If you're a political enthusiast, you need to hear Senator Rand Paul's take on Nancy Pelosi and the Capitol's razor wire fence. Senator Rand Paul is speaking out against the 10-foot fence with razor wire and restrictive security measures around the U.S. Capitol. He calls it a sad situation, lamenting that these measures prevent the public from accessing their government and meeting their representatives. Paul points the finger at Speaker Nancy Pelosi, arguing that her overreaction to January 6th is to blame. He contends that her failure to adequately secure the Capitol on that day, despite prior requests for National Guard and Capitol Police reinforcements, has led to the current show of force. According to Paul, this heightened security is merely a deflection from the real issue, Pelosi's underreaction on January 6th. He believes it's time to remove the barriers and restore public access to the Capitol. What do you think? Let us know in the comments.
Have the Army used. The Constitution was very clear that we vote on declaring war on a specific enemy. When 9/11 happened, I was as mad as any other American about the people who attacked us, and I would have voted for the authority to go after them. We did. We found them, we captured them, we killed them, and we put them in prison. That happened over probably 15 years ago now. And yet we're still in Afghanistan building them roads and schools and bridges, and has nothing to do with our national defense. So I think you hit the nail on the head. With foreign intervention, our founding fathers didn't want us to be at war overseas or anywhere else unless Congress had declared the war. I recently spoke to a group of National Guardsmen from Kentucky who are up here guarding the Capitol, and I told them that it's inexcusable that their representatives have not voted on whether or not we should be at war in Afghanistan or Somalia or Mali or Niger or any of these places where we send these young kids. It is unfair, irresponsible, and it is Congress shirking their duty to have sent these kids who sometimes come out back, losing a leg, losing both legs and an arm, and no one has bothered to even vote whether we should be there and declared who the enemy is. Look, there's 7 different clans, maybe 15 different clans that have been fighting each other in Somalia for 100 years. I don't know how we're supposed to pick who the best is and whether or not your son or your daughter should go fight in Somalia. So some clan wins that probably doesn't like us anyway. If they get in power, their true stripes will come out that they don't care much for us either. We've got no business in most of those battles. And our founding fathers said we shouldn't be there unless it's declared by Congress. I continue to fight for that. And I'll continue to fight that we only go to war when a war is declared And when Congress votes on it, and it's always the last resort, not the first resort.